Hi, I'm Pep. It's weird not waving this way, but the box is in the way. Anyway, this is a pep talk, I guess. I'm not really going to talk about something specific. I'm just going to ramble a bit. But I mostly want to talk to you about what kind of things you're going to see within the next week or two. I figure, if I say it on a video and I release this video, hey, it kind of feels like I need to actually do this stuff rather than just kind of talk about it or keep it fluttering around in my mind. I'm not retaking that. So let's just get right into it. One of the first things is D&D, a D&D book. Not this book. This is just the player's handbook, my disastrous player handbook. And there's a new book that came out recently called Tash's Cauldron of Everything, I believe. And I have been given a digital copy for review, so I intend to review the digital copy of the book itself, and might make it into a little bit of a quasi-review on digital copies of things in general. Just compare it to how I feel about picking up a normal book, reading through it, etc. And we'll talk about the platforms it's on, all that kind of thing. And I'm not going to dive too deep into any of these topics because, of course, I'm going to make a video on them anyway. Next up, Commander Legends, Magic the Gathering. This set just came out recently. I have a fresh unopened box here. A lot of my friends locally have bought boxes of this. We have managed to get together a few times and do the draft doing Commander Legends, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I feel about it. I want to give you some advice for doing the draft, maybe show you a little bit of how it works. I don't know. Either way, I want to talk about it because this has been great for me. Next up, you might notice this large box in front of me that is obscuring much of the view, mostly of this shoulder. I could have a parrot here, you might not even know. This box is a giant box of board game refuse, things you would normally throw away. The not good inserts, but like the inserts that don't really need to be in the box. Just the little things you pop tokens out of. These things, I remember years ago, I think I got these and thought, this kind of looks like a mountain. I should hold on to these. Extra boxes from expansions that I don't need because it fit into the main box. These. The point being, I have a lot of stuff because I'm a hoarder. I call myself a hoarder. Other people have called me a hoarder. And I have trouble getting rid of this kind of stuff. So I thought, you know what? I have it. And rather than just throw it away, I'm going to see what I can do with it. If I can make it into something useful, if I can make it into some art. And so, yeah, that's what this is for. I want to make a video while I do it. And I'm going to try to do it very off the cuff. Who knows, I might even try to do it live at some point. And I might do multiple videos of this, depending on how things go. And at the end of the day, after I've done a lot of videos, I can just throw this stuff out. Because if I haven't been able to use it for art, and there's no other use for it, I can just get rid of it instead of holding on to it forever, which is currently what I've been doing. Now, I'm not going to talk about too much other than that. Some other stuff is definitely on the plate, but you might notice a distinct lack of board games. That's because there's a pandemic going on, and I haven't really been able to play all that many board games. And you might be wondering how I've been doing. Well, I've been doing okay, but as I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling, this isn't really the best time in the world right now, and so, I don't know. I don't want to bring the mood down, but I haven't been doing so great myself. I'm hoping that by making more content, I can start to feel a bit more peppy, One of the things I have done a few times is done some streaming. I did some streaming. I did a playthrough of Keyflower with Ross and Amanda Panda, live on Twitch. I also have played some Among Us on my Twitch with a group. I've joined a couple of Discords that have groups playing it. I really have been enjoying Among Us. And last night I tried playing Phasmophobia alone in the dark with my headphones on. And listen, I'm normally very... this kind of stuff doesn't creep me out usually. I fall asleep sometimes to literal horror stories just because the drony voices help me sleep. I wasn't able to finish the mission I was on because I was pretty legitimately terrified by what was going on, the noises, and I did manage to see the spook a little bit. I actually cheated, in fact, because I could not get any, I don't know if you know how Phasmophobia works, but I couldn't get any of the identifiers to work. And so based on what didn't work, I just made guesses as to the other things. Apparently I got it right, so that's good, but got terrified in the process. Anyway, point being, I'm going to be streaming a bit more, as you might notice from the headset there. And, you know, there might be other clues in the picture as to things that could be coming up, but those might get talked about later. But I'm not just going to be streaming board games either. I, like talking about Phasmophobia, Among Us, maybe Stardew Valley, because that game really brings me joy. I might start streaming a little bit more of that kind of stuff, and that way, you can all join me in my process as I try to work through everything here. And admittedly, the island is pretty good for the pandemic right now, but I think we either had our first case of community spread or we've had our first really scare about community spread. And so things might go a little bit more back into lockdown here, especially around Christmas time. When everyone else starts to go out and start to interact with everyone, my instinct is this could be bad, so I might want to hunker in a little bit more. None of my family is really around either, so. There is one last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'll see if I can get it in time, because I want this video to be under 10 minutes, mostly because I set the camera settings wrong, so it's a 10-minute video maximum. So, I am also going to start doing a D&D game with some friends locally, and it's basically going to be like D&D 5th edition, but with superpowers. I'm not going to let them know their superpowers ahead of time. I'm feeling it's going to be more like Heroes style, if you've seen that, where some event happens and a lot of people in the world are just granted powers. But I want these powers to be distinct, not just something that a wizard could replicate with a spell easily. It's fine if, it would take 5 or 6 spells to replicate the powers. And I want the powers to grow and for them to be able to figure out new and interesting ways to use the powers. So I have a lot of ideas on my own. I don't want to say any of them because I know some of the people in my group have watched my videos before. But if you have any ideas, feel free to put them down in the comments below. I have to admit, unless they're really, really good, I likely won't use them for the main characters. But for some of the NPCs, maybe some of the enemies that they'll face, it'd be really awesome to hear some of the powers down below. If you have any suggestions. Plus, I just love just bouncing little ideas back and forth when it comes to D&D. That's something else I want to do, and you know what? I'll announce that I'm thinking about doing that too. I really want to just have little get-togethers where I draw out an item, make up an item on the fly, and like come up with a little bit of backstory for it, draw it out, talk about what it does, etc. I think that'd be cool, especially if we could do it live. Get people who can actually like throw some ideas at you while you're doing it too. That could be really interesting. Again, I guess the downside is my players might see it, but what the heck? It's fun anyway, and they'll forget about it by the time I use the item. Anyway, I'm probably getting pretty close to the 10 minutes, so thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. You'll be seeing more of me this week, I promise. And goodbye. And until next time, live free, game hard. I almost forgot to do my closing thing.